a common New Year's resolution I hear over and over, especially among my circle of friends, is that they want to lose weight. It's a pet peeve of mine to hear that because it means that people only value what they can see and they don't value anything else. And I've made that resolution before. I've never succeeded in it, but I succeeded in a distant cousin of that resolution, which was to normalize my relationship with food, which I made in 2020, before we had all the craziness that kind of forced us to normalize our relationship with food, because you couldn't go out at 3 in the morning to get your favorite snack foods, and your favorite restaurants were not available, and all the rest, right? So I made it a resolution to normalize my relationship with food. My impetus was a few social problems that I had, social and professional problems that I had with food in the year leading up to this past year. I lost a job, actually. See, I have this problem that if I start eating something, and something comes up, right? My boss comes by and he all of a sudden wants to talk for 45 minutes. Or I was working at a tutoring center and I had 15-20 minutes in between two clients that I could get some food, and sometimes my second client would show up early. I learned to schedule him right after another client because he has a habit of doing that. He drives himself. He's one of my few students who actually drives a car, and he shows up early, which is nice because I have a lot of students who can't wait to leave the center. They look at the time over and over again. They're not focused, and in the ideal world, I would get rid of them, but I kind of need the income too, so I've got kind of torn. Earlier this year, when we were getting the extra $600 unemployment, I got rid of a number of those students. So it's nice that he wants to show up early. It's kind of sad that I have to deny him into the room when he shows up early. And so I learned to schedule him at a time when that wouldn't be a problem because I couldn't start with him anyway. And so that's that. Now, the problem is that I would start a meal and then something like that would happen and my mouth would continue to water. And in the best case scenario, it made the meeting or the client or the other event uncomfortable. It kind of bottlenecked me in terms of making good decisions, whether I'm negotiating at work, whether this be a social relationship, maybe it's family. It bottlenecked a lot of my encounters like that. Or other times I would downright get into a rage of some sort, and that's what caused me to lose my job. And so I was reading about this, and I learned that by going on a fast, you can reevaluate your feelings toward food. And so I went on my first fast on New Year's Day 2020, and I learned that my food cravings don't last all that long. I might be having a craving unless it's an actual hunger, but a craving, sometimes I'll almost forget I had that craving within a couple of minutes. And I went on another fast on Lent, at the beginning of Lent. My friend had wanted to quit smoking, and I asked him why he wanted to quit smoking, and he told me that he didn't want to go out when it was really cold, which got me a little worried because he was making that goal in February, and I wondered how much he would feel about that when we got into the spring and summer. He kind of lucked out though, because by the end of that spring, he had another reason for wanting to avoid leaving his apartment. Obviously, he couldn't smoke inside the apartment he was living in, and he didn't want to go outside to catch what he called the Chinese flu, and so that's good. At least he had another reason, and he stayed off smoking. But for me, one of the other reasons, one of the other big benefits I noticed that first week of fasting was that at the back in March, before it was too dangerous to do this, I traveled to, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing the city, Kalispell, Montana. It's about a 6-hour drive from Seattle, but I usually take 2 days to make that drive. I usually have a stopover in Spokane where I'll stay the night. And what was really nice was that whole trip I felt so free. I didn't feel like I needed to pull in somewhere to get some food. I just took the trip, and that was that. Another big awakening was that that first month, January, when I did multiple fasts. I did one during New Year's. I did one. What else did I fast for? I love to fast when there's an occasion. The Chinese New Year. Kobe Bryant passing away, and Kenny Rogers. What else? The memorial for Fukushima on the 9th anniversary. And go watch my earlier videos. I recorded a number of videos when I was doing the fast. What was really nice was that at the end of January, when I went to pay my credit card bill, I got a little bit of a sticker shock. It was a lot less than I had anticipated on paying. I used to spend so much money eating that it was so normalized, I didn't even think I was spending all that money. It wasn't until I started fasting that I realized I had freed up all this money, and that's what allowed me to take that vacation to Kalispell, and that was nice. Unfortunately, of course, then I lost most of my income because of, well, the other reason that my friend didn't want to go out of his apartment to smoke. So it was a crazy few months, but it made me glad that I was fasting because I didn't want to go out either at the beginning when we didn't know very much about the problem on hand. So another big benefit that I noticed was that I used to really despise going to events and venues that didn't allow you to bring outside food. I don't think they're really enforcing it so much anymore because, let's face it, people are hesitating on getting food in public anyway. But even still, for example, right now I'm living in Wallace, Idaho, one of the biggest theme parks in this area, and thank God they haven't locked down very much, is a Silverwood theme park. I used to despise, well, I love theme parks, but I would despise that I couldn't bring my food in there, or I would make up having some kind of a serious medical condition, and you got a teenager working behind the counter. It doesn't take much to convince him why you need to bring food in there because you have the scary condition. I used to go online and look for the scariest sounding conditions in the world, but I hate doing that. Because, let's face it, I like to be strong. I don't like to go to the counter and tell people that I have 6 months to live. I hate doing that. I don't have to do that anymore. I just go on a fast when I'm going to these venues. Or going to a movie. Or I love going bowling now. I just recently, let me see if I can find that picture. I just recently made my goal of scoring 150. That's me at this is in Coeur d'Alene. And I finally scored 153. I usually average like in the low 140s nowadays. And so 2 nights ago I scored 153. And then I sung Bon Jovi's "Living on a Prayer" because he says halfway there. And so I sung halfway there at the bowling alley, and everybody just congratulated me. So that was good. But see, I would never have been able to do that years ago because I would bowl 2 games and then I would want to go out to get my favorite foods, and that was a big problem of mine. I'm so glad I'm not doing that anymore. Now when I go to the bowling alley, it's a great way for me to fast a couple more hours after I've already fasted 15 to 16 hours. And see, a lot of people don't think about that. They think about how much weight they can lose. They might think about a chronic condition, right? My mom has type 2 diabetes. I have an old classmate from college who has type 1 diabetes. They might think about that. But that's the extent of it, right? I like to think about what I could do instead of eating, right? One of the big challenges that I need to do for 2021 is that I've gotten really good at not eating in 2020. I haven't gotten so good at eating. Like, if I'm eating, I still have a problem putting down my food. If my life depended on me ending my meal, I don't think I could do it. Fortunately, I don't work as some kind of an emergency responder of some sort, right? I would not do very well if I'm in the middle of a meal and there's a fire that I need to put out. If there's a tutoring client, he'll just have to wait, right? Not ideal. I still hope I can, like that client that I always have to schedule right after another one, because he's very motivated. Don't get me wrong. I'd rather have him than somebody staring at the clock. But at the same time, I got really good at not eating this year. Next year, I want to get better at eating. Let's put it that way. Thanks for watching.